Welcome to Week 3 Planning and Needs Assessment article presentation by Adam Glasofer and Christine Wismer. Our first article, Health Information Technology in Community-Based Settings Lessons Learned, seeks to provide lessons learned to other researchers and academic centers who want to form research collaboratives with community-based organizations. Many of these organizations don't have experience in evaluating HIT, so the thought is that such a study will provide useful information for these collaboratives moving forward. The study reviewed all of the community-based HIT research performed from 2007 to 2010 by HITech. They then met as a group and pulled from over 30 studies to develop lessons learned. The results of this fell into four main themes, which were partnership, communication, implementation, and study methodology. By utilizing these lessons learned, the researchers felt that these collaboratives can better understand the needs of each other's stakeholders and fill in gaps of experience in evaluation for community-based health organizations. This article is a qualitative review that doesn't specifically use a validated tool to measure its results. This makes for a subjective approach to the problem. I think that this article would benefit from an overall formalized approach using a standardized tool. When forming partnerships between academic and community-based health organizations, efforts should be made to understand the unique needs of each group's stakeholders. And lastly, academic centers must realize that community-based organizations will have less experience with HIT evaluation. Our next article is called Intensive Care Unit Nurses' Information Needs and Recommendations for Integrated Displays to Improve Nurses' Situation Awareness. The purpose of this study was to provide recommendations to functional requirements for integrated information displays for ICU nurses at the patient point of care. This sought to respond to a nursing problem where they requested for integrated display due to splintered systems requiring multiple logins. This created for often inaccessible information at the point of care, which created significant issues with streamlining workflows and inefficiencies in patient care delivery. This ultimately resulted in suboptimal decision-making and potentially error. In order to perform the study, they gathered information via systematic observations, situational awareness. They also looked at the consensus of the research team using an iterative approach to get recommendations for functional requirements. The results of this study found that the three most frequent task categories were perception, in that information was unavailable or hard to discriminate, comprehension, or that information needed to be combined from different locations in order to provide accurate and clear information, and projection, in that information was missing necessary to predict future developments, implications, and/or options. The study ultimately found that these functional requirements were created for integrated displays to increase situational awareness for the three high-frequency tasks. Communication sought to increase the capability to share information with providers. Medication management sought to change the capability to manage changes within med orders. This consolidated EHR and electronic med administration records. Patient awareness, in that the vital sign information was easily visible and readable from the doorway. It also provided capabilities for alarming about multiple patients. The takeaways of this study are that situational awareness is used to assess the importance, urgency, and details of tasks and combine them into workflow. Results based on observation methods, questionnaires, and brainstorming, but other techniques may be of benefit. Additionally, cognitive work analysis or expert consultation to identify requirements could also be useful. The sample size was for a limited number of clinicians in one geographic area, with those clinicians limited to day shift. Further evaluation should seek to expand these options. Our next article, the SAFER study, looked to provide information to develop tools that can be used by healthcare organizations to improve the safety of EHRs. This looked at the problem that EHR usage can potentially lead to improvements in quality of care, however, also has the potential to create unique patient safety risks. The researchers looked at an 8-dimension socio-technical model of safe and effective HIT use, and then sought to create and evaluate assessment guides based on identified high-risk areas of usage. Evaluation of each guide was then tested at 5 different sites. The results of the study are that assessment guides were created, validated, and refined for 9 identified high-risk areas of EHR usage: CPOE&E prescribing, clinical decision support, test result reporting, communication between providers, patient ID, EHR downtime, EHR customization and configuration, system-system interfaces, HIT safety-related human skills. Ultimately, the study found that proactive assessment of EHR risks could be realized through a 3-phase process using the created risk assessment guides. These guides sought to address safety concerns unique to technology, address mitigation of safety concerns from failure to use properly, and to leverage EHR capabilities to monitor and improve patient safety. This was a well-organized study following previously studied methodologies and models. While qualitative in nature, it followed a standardized methodology and procedure. Standardization of EHR risk assessments have the potential to improve patient safety. Further study needs to be done looking at elements of patient safety in the identified high-risk EHR areas in an effort to determine the effect of such risk assessments post-intervention. Our final article is Information and Decision Support Needs in Patients with Type 2 Diabetes. The purpose of this study is to provide a needs assessment to determine the information that needs to be included in an internet health application for diabetic patients. This seeks to empower diabetic patients concerning their disease, its course, and treatment options. The study used a two-step process, which first was a qualitative interview based on needs assessment involving 10 diabetic patients and 7 physicians. Step 2 then was a self-questionnaire that was developed based on Step 1 findings and distributed to 178 diabetic patients. The results were then obtained via the assessment and identified the following. Internet usage found a relatively high rate in searching the web for health info, although this only happened approximately once per month. Diabetes knowledge was found to be extremely low when attempting to answer diabetes-related health questions. Relevant treatment decisions were found to be glycemic control, oral meds, and acute complications, with the most difficult decision involved whether to start insulin treatment. The most frequent online health information requested was sequelae of diabetes, blood glucose control, and basic diabetes info. Conclusion was that the internet is a feasible way to reach type 2 diabetic patients. Such programs should tailor content to users, in particular considering their individual characteristics and preferences. A wide range of topics should be presented, especially regarding the advantages and disadvantages of insulin treatment. Some takeaway points are that this study illustrated a good formal process for needs assessment, including the consideration of health literacy. Patient sample may be biased, not be representative of overall population. For example, the patient sample taken from self-help groups and those interested in technology might prevent skewed results. This sample should be expanded to include caregivers. A critique of the article was that it didn't identify how or which individual preferences would be targeted in this health application. Given the major conclusion that patients wish to use information in concert with their physician, the application should provide some mechanism to communicate with the healthcare provider. Similarities of the articles presented are that needs assessments are critical to successful interventions. Results should be used as input to the requirements process. Refinement of interventions are often needed through the course of a study. And finally, needs assessments can serve as a bridge to differing interests of stakeholders. Some differences that we found among the articles. Needs assessments of different types of users require different methodologies. For example, needs assessments of clinicians versus consumers or patients. And also we found that different evaluations call for different kinds of needs assessment tools and techniques. These techniques can range from interviews, questionnaires, observation methods, storyboard methods, concept mapping, and situational awareness. Our discussion board questions of the week are: how does the needs assessment process differ between clinicians and consumers? What are the considerations? For example, availability of participants, IRB approval, intrusiveness on clinician time. Do you think different needs assessment techniques are superior, or how do you choose which technique best meets the study? And finally, what are your experiences in using needs assessments to connect the interest of differing stakeholder groups? Thank you for your time.